Hello guys, good day. Today let's talk about IPM or Integrated Pest Management. We will be talking about the concept of IPM, the history, kung bakit ginagamit ng Pilipinas ang Integrated Pest Management, what are some of the tools that we use, and what are some of the advanced technologies such as biorationals and GMOs that we use that supports the Integrated Pest Management. But before we start, please go ahead. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you are updated every time na may nilalabas akong mga ibang topics regarding learning agriculture. So let's start off by defining what is integrated pest management or what is IPM. Now, IPM, guys, is a strategy that we use in agriculture. Primarily, it is a strategy that we use to manage our pests. Kaya nga siya pest management. But there's a word here that says it is integrated, which means there is no one way of managing the pests. Ibig sabihin, we have several options para i-manage or i-control yung peste sa ating garden or sa ating farm. So integrated pest management is a strategy that allows us to effectively manage pests, but at the same time, dapat safe siya sa environment, safe siya sa farmer, and safe siya sa mga iba't ibang organisms na nasa ating ecology. Because we know this ecological diversity, yung interaction ng mga different living things in the environment actually affects how our farm will also produce, not just in the short run, but in the long run. So, ang sinasabi sa integrated pest management, wag lang, kung ikaw ay farmer, wag ka lang gumamit agad-agad ng pesticide. Napakarami mong options. Pwede kang gumamit ng physical control, cultural control, yung mga traps, yung mga barriers. Pwede kang gumamit ng biological control. And all of these things, you need to exhaust all of your options before you use chemicals. Why? Kasi, napag-alaman natin na kahit na ang chemical ay nakakatulong para palaguin yung ating halaman, para mas maging malago and mas maging malinis, kumbaga, wala masyadong butas. Napag-alaman natin na hindi ito maganda sa environment and at the same time, hindi rin siya maganda sa iyong kalusugan. So there's actually three concepts that we apply in integrated pest management. I call them as your PMC. Yan. That is to prevent, monitor, and control. So very important yung prevention na aspect. Before pa maging problema ang peste, we need to stop it from appearing. How? Well, pwede kang gumamit ng cultural practices. For example, crop rotation, right? Hindi ka magtatanim ng two similar family of crops ng magkasunod na growing season. Kasi kung ano yung peste ng isa, malamang yun din ang magiging peste ng susunod. Kaya ang gagawin mo, you will plant something different para yung naipon na peste doon sa isang crop mo, hindi siya tutuloy doon sa second growing season. Right, so that's one. Isa pa, pwede kang gumamit siguro ng pest-resistant varieties. For example, yung mga BT corn, BT eggplant natin. Right? If you're going to plant something, maybe you can use varieties na meron na siyang natural tendency to resist this pest. Another principle in integrated pest management is to continuously monitor or to continuously observe and track yung level ng peste sa iyong bukirin. Ibig sabihin yan, minomonitor mo lang yung bilang ng peste pero hindi ibig sabihin kailangan mo nang mag-act. Meron kang specific threshold, tatalakayin natin ito mamaya, na mahihit. Okay? So, maybe a number of pests per plant na kapag na-hit yun, saka ka lang mag-act. Pero kapag below dun yung level, pwedeng wag muna. Pero obserbahan mo. Yun ang sinasabi ng monitor. And also, of course, kung sa hindi inaasahang pagkakataon, dumami yung peste, kailangan mo nang kontrolin. Pero sa pag-control, sabi ko nga, you need to exhaust all your options muna. Ibig sabihin, meron kang hierarchy na sinusunod. Ano ba yung una mong gagamitin? Probably yung mga least harmful options muna. For example, pwede ka bang gumamit ng mga natural predators? Like, for example, ladybugs na kumakain ng aphids, right? Pwede ka bang gumamit ng physical control method, like traps or barriers, right? Now, kapag hindi yan gumana, baka pwedeng biological pesticides muna or mga organic pesticides. Now, kapag worst comes to worst, saka ka lang po gagamit ng chemical. Yun yung konsepto ng integrated pest management. And bakit pa umuso itong integrated pest management na ito? Balikan natin yung kanyang history. During the post-World War II era, ibig sabihin, kakatapos lang ng gera, you have to understand na kailangang bumangon ng mga tao, hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, kundi sa buong mundo. Okay? So, kakatapos lang ng World War II, kailangan mong bumangon economically. So, nag-peak yung paggamit ng mga chemical pesticides. Okay? Bakit siya nag-peak? Dahil sa idea ng tinatawag nating Green Revolution. Right? Pag-alaman kasi natin na kapag gumagamit tayo ng chemical, hindi lang mga pesticide but rather fertilizer na rin, talagang napapataas niya yung production natin ng pagkain, ng mga produktong agrikultura. So that was in the 1960s, 1970s. So because of this green revolution, umuso ang paggamit ng synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. And dito sa Pilipinas, yun din yung prinomote natin. You have to remember, kakatapos lang ng gera nito, so kailangan nating bumangon in terms of agricultural production. However, after some time, na-realize ng buong mundo na, oops, hinay-hinay lang pala tayo dapat sa paggamit ng pesticide. Kasi apparently, ang mga peste, nagkakaroon sila ng resistance. Ibig sabihin, maaring gumagana yung pesticide ngayon, bukas, meron na silang immunity. Okay? Nasanay na sila doon sa gamot. Pangalawa, hindi lang mga peste ang pinapatay ng insecticide natin. Even yung mga insekto na beneficial, like for example, yung mga pollinators natin, namamatay. So, pangatlo, hindi lang siya masama sa environment, nakakasama rin siya sa kalusugan. So, there's a global movement now in the 1970s that starts introducing the idea of integrated pest management. So, nagkaroon ng shift. Okay? Tapos na tayo doon sa napakaraming production ng agriculture. Mag-focus naman tayo doon sa tinatawag nating sustainable agriculture. So na-introduce na yung konsepto, for example, ng economic threshold level dyan. And a lot of the agriculturists, a lot of scientists has been doing some research on how to sustainably produce and grow crops. Dito sa Pilipinas, we have the IRI, the International Rice Research Institute, has been doing their research kung paano ba tayo makakapag-produce ng rice, basically, na hindi nasisira yung ating kalikasan and yung ating kalusugan by using integrated pest management. Now, after some time in the 1980s, yan na, the Philippines particularly, started adapting yung IPM principles sa ating National Agricultural Policy. So this time around, we started training our farmers, right? Nagpagawa tayo nag-implement tayo ng mga lectures, ng mga farmer field schools to train our farmers on the practice of integrated pest management. Umuso din during the 1980s yung paggamit ng mga biological control agents, katulad ng mga predators, ng mga parasitoids, ng mga pathogens, para naturally makontrol natin yung mga population ng ating peste. Isa pang umuso na idea during the 1980s is what we call as the agroecosystem analysis, which is basically an approach na kung iko-control mo daw yung peste, kailangan mong tignan yung holistic environment kung saan gumagalaw yung peste. Later on, pag-uusapan natin more in detail yung ating agroecosystem analysis, or we also call that as our AESA or ESA. Right? And then, after the 1980s, comes the 1990s right now, nag-expand na yung idea ng integrated pest management. And dito, umuso na rin yung introduction and implementation or application of different biorationals and GMOs. So yan na yung mga advanced technology na ginagamit natin even as of now in order to integrate IPM with controlling pest population. Now, these advanced tools is actually good for the plant, it is good for the environment, and good for us as well. Ang idea nito is that hindi mo kailangan gumamit ng chemicals to control pests. There are other methods that we can use that will not be harmful to the ecology and to the health of the farmers. And as of right now, there are still modern IPM practices that we are doing, but at the same time, there are still challenges, right? Ngayon, by the year 2000 and beyond, umuso na rin yung concept ng organic agriculture. And that's one of the hype na ma-observe natin ngayon, right? Although there are some challenges, like for instance, maraming farmers pa rin ang conventional pagdating sa kanilang production. And hindi naman natin sila masisisi because when you shift to organic agriculture, it basically needs time and basically medyo mataas din yung capital. And maraming mga groups, government and non-government groups, that is actually pushing this advocacy, but at the same time, taking into consideration na dapat mapagaan yung transition ni conventional farmer papuntang organic farming. So yun yung mga tinitignan natin na modern IPM practices and the challenges that we are facing right now. So as an agriculturist, you might be here, right? As a future agriculturist, you might do something here, you might discover something here, or you might help contribute to the advocacy of producing plants, producing crops and animals in a sustainable way that would take good care of the environment, but at the same time provide the needs of the people in the present. Okay? So we're done with the history of IPM. Let's talk about these two important tools na madalas natin napapakinggan sa ating mga crop protection classes. The first is the difference between what we call as economic threshold level and yung AESA or yung agroecosystem analysis. Puntahan muna natin, ano ba tong economic threshold level na to or ETL? Economic threshold level is basically this idea of monitoring the number of pests in your farm. So, ibig sabihin daw niyan, dapat as a farmer, aware ka and minomonitor mo kung ilan yung bilang ng peste na nasa iyong farm. And basically, through farmer's practice, meron kang sineset na threshold. Okay? So, sa madaling salita, threshold means ito yung level kung saan kailangan mo nang kumilos at kontrolin yung iyong peste. So for example, in the x-axis, you can see here that is the time. And in the y-axis, mapapansin nyo, yan naman yung number of pest population. At this point in time, meron ka ng pesteng na-observe, for example, but hindi pa ganun karami. So okay lang. Hayaan mo lang sila, but you continuously observe, continuously observe. Now this time around, mapapansin mo na as the plants grow, tataas na tataas yung population, tataas yung population ng peste up until it hits what we call the level of economic threshold. Now, sa level of economic threshold, yan ay warning sign. Sinasabi niyan, "Hoy, farmer, kailangan mo nang gumawa ng paraan. It's time to treat. It's time to do something to control your pest." Now, does it mean na kailangan mo nang isprayan yung field mo? Not exactly. Kailangan mo lang gumawa ng paraan. Kailangan mong kumilos, basically, to control the pest population. So you can use all of the methods that I have talked about. For example, you can use physical method, biological control method. Kung hindi talaga kaya, then saka ka lang gagamit ng chemical. So what usually happens is kapag na-treat mo na siya sa level na to, yung pest population mo ay babagsak. Pero paano kapag ikaw si farmer na medyo antukin, okay, ayaw mong kumilos, napansin mo na na-hit na nung population mo yung na-hit na ng pest population yung economic threshold, pero ayaw mo pa rin kumilos. Well, what happens is, tataas na tataas yung number of pest population up until such time na mahihit niya yung economic injury level. And ano yung economic injury level? Yan po yung zone kung saan napakataas na ng injury, okay, ng damage ng mga peste na ito sa iyong halamanan. Right? Ibig sabihin, the damage to your crops is now greater than your cost of control. So, ibig sabihin, sa stage na yan, ikaw na po ay lugi. So, ang economic threshold level analysis is that kailangan mong bantayan yung pest population level mo, and kapag na-hit niya yung ETL, kailangan mo nang kumilos, and ayaw natin na marating yung economic injury level. Because sa economic injury level, bagsak na yung yield ng crops mo, and at the same time, yung control mo masyado na ring magastos at that particular level. So as a farmer, binabantayan mo yan. Binabantayan mo yung pest population. When I was working in a corporate tobacco growing company, maalala ko, binibigyan namin yung mga farmers ng checklist kung saan binabantayan nila actually yung mga different pests in their tobacco field. Per plant, ang alam ko na ginagamit nila eh. So per plant, parang meron kaming threshold na ilang peste ba? For example, catidids. Ilan ba yung threshold ng catidids per plant bago si farmer ay mag-spray? Something like that. Or bago niya kontrolin yung peste sa kanyang halamanan. So for example, kapag ang threshold ay 5, kailangan na niyang mag-spray or kailangan niyang tumawag sa company para tulungan siya na i-control yung peste na yon. Now, meron din doon, sa table na yon, nakalagay din doon kung ano yung injury level. For example, ang injury level ay 15 catidids. Nako, that's too late already. Ibig sabihin, napakalala na ng damage sa kanyang tabakuhan. So yan po yung idea ng economic threshold level. And isa yan sa mga tools na ginagamit natin in implementing integrated pest management. Another tool that we use is what we call the agroecosystem analysis or our AESA. Now, your agroecosystem analysis, yan po ay parang big picture analysis. Okay? So, hindi mo lang tinitignan yung population ng insect. Similarly, kanina sa economic threshold level, yung bilang ng insect yung tinitignan natin. Dito, hindi lang yun yung tinitignan mo pa kung ano yung nangyayari sa paligid ng insekto. For example, yes, may peste sa yung halamanan, pero baka meron ding beneficial insects that would help control the pests. Okay? Tinitignan mo rin yung health ng iyong halaman. Kasi maaari na napakaraming ang peste sa paligid, pero kayang-kaya naman ng halaman mo for some reason, right? You are also looking at weather conditions. Maybe right now, mataas yung insect population, pero may parating na weather condition that would disrupt the population of your pest. So, you don't need to do anything. You're also looking at soil conditions because soil conditions, a healthy soil would support stronger plants, and stronger plant could resist better yung peste na nasa sa kanyang paligid. So this time around, you are merely observing what is happening to your farm holistically, and based on your observation, gagawa ka ng iba't ibang strategies. Mag-i-implement ka ng iba't ibang mga techniques to control pests and diseases. Pests, I mean. So hindi lang number of pests yung tinitignan mo, but you are looking at different factors at the same time. So, kapag gagamit ka ng agroecosystem analysis, dapat ikaw ay observant na farmer. Okay? Nakikita mo yung iba't ibang mga factors that would affect the growth of your crops. So, para lang ma-differentiate natin, ano ba ang pagkakaiba ng ETL and AESA? Ang ETL, kung mapapansin nyo, medyo reactive yung approach niya. Bakit? Kasi action ka lang kapag na-hit mo na yung threshold. So, you are reacting to the threshold level. Ang AESA, medyo proactive siya. Kasi sa AESA, you are now observing what is happening in your field. And based on that observation, you are trying different approaches to control the pest in your garden. Sa ETL, ang focus natin, if you can notice kanina, numbers. We're focusing on the quantitative analysis. Yun lang. Sa AESA, medyo holistic and qualitative yung approach natin. Hindi natin binibilang kung ilan yung bilang ng insekto, but we are observing consistently what is happening to the environment and kung ano ba yung mga different factors that might affect the pest population in your garden. The goal of ETL ay para hindi ka malugi. So, economic efficiency, yun yung primary goal niya. Ayaw mong ma-reach mo yung economic injury level kasi kapag na-hit mo yon, maaari, kapag na-hit mo yun, for sure, hindi maaari, for sure, malulugi ka na. Right? Kasi mas mataas na yung damage kaysa doon sa cost of control. Ang AESA naman, ang goal niya, yes, economic din, but most primarily, ang goal niya is para magkaroon ng ecological balance. Okay? Mapanatili yung health ng environment, ng ecology, kung saan ka nagtatanim. So yan yung two tools that farmers use in implementing integrated pest management. Ngayon, puntahan naman natin, ano yung mga advanced na tools or arsenal that we have right now in order to practice integrated pest management. And dalawa sa mga tools na to is the use of biorationals and GMOs. So unahin natin, ano ba ang biorationals? Now, biorationals, these are, sa madaling salita, natural pest control products. So para silang insecticide, para silang pesticides, pero hindi sila chemical-based, they are naturally sourced. Ibig sabihin, they can be sourced from naturally occurring bacteria or microorganism, katulad ng Bacillus thuringiensis, for example. You can source them from plants, katulad ng botanical insecticides, right? Kasi may mga plants na nagre-release ng extract, for example, na harmful sa iba't ibang mga peste. You can also use some biochemical pesticides such as pheromones. Now, pheromones, it will not directly kill your insect, pero it would interfere doon sa growth and reproduction ng insekto. And we also have here insect growth regulators or IGRs. Na itong mga substances na to, they interfere with the growth of your insect or they interfere with the life cycle of the insect itself. So, makokontrol mo rin siya. Ano ba yung mga pinaka nagagamit na biorationals in IPM in the Philippine context? First off, we have neem-based products. Now, neem is actually a tree kung saan yung mga different parts niya, such as the leaves, seeds, and bark, mayroon niyang mga natural compounds that are harmful to pests. Harmful to what pests? For example, aphids. Harmful to whiteflies. Harmful to leaf miners. So, mostly dito sa Pilipinas, we use neem oil or we spray neem oil to control pests in our vegetable gardens and at the same time in our fruit gardens as well. Now, your neem does not directly kill the pest immediately. Okay? So, hindi niya pinapatay agad-agad yung peste. Pero ang ginagawa ng neem ay, kumbaga, i-interfere or i-block or i-challenge yung ability ng peste na lumaki at mag-reproduce. So for example, let's say yung ating leaf miners kumain ng dahon na mayroong neem oil, ang tendency nung leaf miner na yon or yung caterpillar na yon is that maaaring hindi na siya lumaki or maaaring hindi na siya manganak or mag-produce ng offspring. Maaaring hindi na siya lumaki and hindi na rin siya magiging butterfly para mangitlog. Okay? So, hindi na niya maipagpapatuloy yung kanyang lahi. Now, neem is very important kasi it is very, very specific to pest only. Ibig sabihin, kapag in-spray mo yan sa halaman mo, hindi po maaapektuhan yung mga beneficial insects natin. Like for example, our pollinators or yung mga predatory insects natin like our ladybugs. Yan. So, very pest-specific ang neem. Kaya inaatake lang, ang naapektuhan lang negatively is yung mga peste, pero yung mga other beneficial insects hindi po naapektuhan. Another biorational would be BT formulations. So Bacillus thuringiensis, alam ko narinig nyo na yan, right? Pero ang assure ako, ang konsepto nyo sa BT is more on genetically modified crops, right? But this time around, ang Bacillus thuringiensis is actually a naturally occurring type of bacteria in your soil. And from that, pwede kang gumawa ng formulation, right? Pwede kang gumawa ng formulation or mixture kung saan pwede mo ring ma-apply yung BT na to sa iyong halamanan. And your BT is more of having direct effect to the pest as compared to your neem oil. Basically, ang BT ay toxic doon sa ating mga peste. So kapag may caterpillar, okay, may cabbage worm na kumain dun sa dahon na na-sprayan ng BT formulation, yung BT na yan, bubutas-butasan niya yung digestive system ng iyong caterpillar hanggang siya ay mamatay. Okay? So direct yung effect ng Bacillus thuringiensis. Okay? Another type of biorational would be your trichoderma. Now, what is trichoderma? Trichoderma is a beneficial fungi that is also found in your soil. Now, there are two varieties, common varieties of trichoderma here in the Philippines, or species probably. Meron tayong Harshanum and meron tayong Coningi. Ang Harshanum, I believe, is being produced by CLSU and UPLB and also the Department of Agriculture. Ang Coningi is produced in our school at Benguet State University. In any ways, oops, di ko napalitan yung picture na to. This is not trichoderma, by the way. In any ways, ang trichoderma is isang beneficial fungi that attacks those fungi that are harmful to your plants. For example, yung mga fungi katulad ng Fusarium, Rhizoctonia, and Phytium na nagkokos ng rat diseases sa iyong mga halaman, pine-prevent yan ng trichoderma. So, ang trichoderma kasi, you can call the trichoderma as a good fungus. And how does it work? Maaring the trichoderma grows faster than your pathological fungi. And sometimes it also releases compounds or chemicals that suppresses the growth of other bad fungi such as Fusarium, Rhizoctonia, and Phytium. At the same time, ang kagandahan sa trichoderma, at some point, nakakatulong din siya para pagandahin yung physical and chemical properties of the soil. So it also maintains good soil health. So these are some of the biorationals that we use in integrated pest management na kilala ngayon sa Pilipinas. Of course, there are others, pero ito lang yung i-introduce ko. Yung iba, pwede nyo i-research if you are interested. Another advanced tools or arsenals that we use, aside from biorationals, is the use of genetically modified organisms. By the way, biorationals, meron akong nabasa na article that CLSU has been doing some researches on plant extracts that can be used to control pests in the field as well. If I'm not mistaken, yung nabasa ko nakapag-produce sila ng 6. Okay, so that's a good thing. Dagdag yun na tool for integrated pest management. Balik tayo dito. So another one, aside from biorational, is we also use genetically modified organism. Now, this is an advanced technique because we use actually genetic engineering para mag-create ng mga crops that are resistant to pests. Like, for example, usong-uso yung ating BT corn. Yung ating BT corn is basically a corn kung saan dinagdagan natin ng DNA ng Bacillus thuringiensis. And according to our past slides, ang Bacillus thuringiensis ay masama sa mga uod po natin. So kapag nilagay mo yan sa corn mo, isipin mo na lang, yung corn mo ay magkakaroon na ngayon ng natural BT spray sa kanyang katawan. And kapag kinain siya ng mga in our case, ang Asian corn borer, yung corn mo, yung Asian corn borer ay mamamatay. Okay? Another one that is also BT is our BT eggplant, which was developed in 2002. Okay? Now this time, yung BT mo naman ay nilagay daw sa eggplant to control eggplant fruit and shoot borer. No? So these are disease resistant kasi kapag kumagat yung uod dyan, agad-agad mamamatay yung uod. Kasi nga may BT dyan sa eggplant na yan. Pero paano sir kapag tao ang kumain? Well, good thing kapag tao ang kumain kasi ang BT walang effect sa tao. So very specific lang siya sa mga uod na yan. Another GMO would be our golden rice. Although nilagyan ko ng asterisk dito kasi primarily the golden rice is actually was enhanced, genetically enhanced para mag-provide ng more vitamin A content. So ang sinusolve talaga ng golden rice is the problem of malnutrition. Okay? Although right now, there are some researches being conducted kung saan tinitignan rin nila yung capacity ng golden rice to become pest resistant. Okay? So this holds a promising research for addressing both nutritional deficiency and at the same time pest-related problems when it comes to our rice. So in summary, gusto ko lang i-describe sa inyo kung ano ba talaga yung nangyayari sa integrated pest management by telling you a story about Carlos. Okay? Si Carlos ay isang farmer. Okay? Siya ay isang farmer ng rice and i-apply niya ngayon yung integrated pest management in several steps sa kanyang pagtatanim ng bigas. For example, bago siguro magtanim si Carlo, kailangan mamimili ngayon siya ng mga rice varieties na pest resistant. So that's one. Or pwede siyang gumamit ng cultural practices like crop rotation or just merely keeping his field clean. Kasi sometimes yun lang yung kailangan, sanitation would actually go a long way. Kapag nakapagtanim na si Carlos ng rice, maaring ang ginagawa niya, minomonitor niya yung bilang ng peste na nasa kanyang palayan. Maaring mag-set up siya ng mga pheromone traps, for example, and weekly observe kung ano ba yung nangyayari sa level ng peste na to. Let's say, what happens is, yung bilang ng peste na hit niya, yung economic threshold level. So, ibig sabihin yan kay Carlos, kailangan na niyang umaksyon. Una, maaaring gagamit siya ng mga eco-friendly controls. Let's say, biological controls. Let's say, gagamit siya ng neem-based sprays or anything na organic or biological or natural that would control the population of pests in his rice field. Kung hindi kinaya, maaaring yun na yung panahon na mag-i-spray na si Carlos. Now, ang idea dito, mag-i-spray lang si Carlos as a last resort. And madalas yung gagamitin niyang spray is something na targeted lang doon sa peste na kanyang kinokontrol. Iiwasan niya yung mga chemical insecticide or pesticide that would kill other insects as well that might be beneficial sa kanyang field. After that, anong gagawin ni Carlos? Continuously ini-evaluate niya yung mga different strategies and actions niya on how to control pests. And I think that is the heart of integrated pest management. The heart of integrated pest management is continuous observation and awareness on what is happening in your field. And kailangan, ikaw as a farmer, alam mo kung ano yung nangyayari sa field mo, sa kabuuan, para ma-align mo yung mga problema, ma-align mo yung strategies mo base doon sa problema na nahaharap mo sa iyong farm. Kasi wala talagang solid solution on how to control your pests aside from you being there and observing what is happening in the context of your farm. Okay? So, pwede kang gumamit ng AESA para matulungan ka to analyze what are the different techniques and strategies that you can use to implement effective integrated pest management. So I hope you like this lecture on integrated pest management. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and hit that notification bell for more videos to come. Maraming salamat mga ka-agri, and please continue learning agri with me.